My name is Dickson Nsofor. I'm from Nigeria, born and bred in a small city called Jos City, where the average man lives less than $2 a day. I'm one of the privileged Nigerians to have attended one of the best universities in Nigeria, Covenant University. My background goes back to information engineering, and I was also involved in a lot of student government activities around there. Schooling in Nigeria is it's not quite easy. It's quite hectic because the system in the African institutions prepare you for things you expect and things you even don't expect. Being from that background, and I got into entrepreneurship really early. My dad owns a chain of stores, and he was also a general merchant. He is still a general merchant and an importer. And I got into business really early at 17. I started my first business, and then while I was back then in the university, I launched my first business. And ever since then, I started my journey on entrepreneurship in Nigeria. On the international level, I faced lots of challenges and issues with trust because Nigerians have messed up lots of corporations or partnerships abroad. And that was one of my major challenges. Upon graduation of my bachelor's degree, I went over to China, where I started my MBA in Nankai University, one of the most prestigious universities in China. The former premier of China schooled in Nankai, Zhou Enlai. And there I got my MBA, and that was where I launched my Dickson mobile project, which is a low-end smartphone project to cater to the unbanked, because I have a vision of bringing the unbanked into the global economy through provision of internet accessible smartphones. And also after that, I launched my second project, which was the LIC tablet project, which aimed at equipping tertiary institutions in the African region, Western African region, with low-end tablets coupled with educational materials that could enable them study and access, global materials to help them learn and improve our standard of living. Also, while I was in China, I worked with Globisme Shenzhen Electronic Manufacturing Company. I led the global business development arm of the company, which expanded into Southern Asia and Western Africa, some part of India and the UK also. That's how I got familiar with international business. And soon later, the parent company of Globisme Shenzhen company bought up my two companies, Dickson mobile project and the LIC tablet. Yeah, software, it was more or less, I studied information engineering, but yeah, I picked up software development early. I actually studied in India also. I spent 6 months in India at NIIT, Churchgate, where I got certified Core Java and C++. So I picked up, my journey on software development was a personal thing. And it came along when I watched the movie The Social Network. After seeing how Zuckerberg could just, wake up and create something like Facebook on his own. I wanted to create something that would be that powerful to empower my people and, bring about a bridge in the gap between the rich and the poor through technology. So that's been my journey, but more or less in recent times, I had to go more into project management, IT project management. I'm also a certified project manager. I'm currently working on my PNP, and I have the ITIL certification and a couple other certifications in project management. First of all, the major challenge I faced was the macroeconomics. I was dealing with exchange rate, I was dealing with inflation, I was dealing with high interest rate. Having a project in Western Africa where the economy is not so stable is a big challenge to run an international business, coupled with the fact that I had investors from China. All my investors were Chinese. I speak Chinese, I speak Mandarin, and I was able to gain the trust of the Chinese to invest in Nigeria. My major challenge was the government regulations on the dollar, because everything we had to do in Nigeria has to do with the dollar. If you have to transact, you have to transact with the dollar. And then imagine a situation where you get an investment of $500,000 when the exchange rate is 200 naira. And then in the couple of 2-3 months later, the exchange rate changes to 450 naira. And then you've been selling smartphones for $20 at the exchange rate of $200. So you now have about 250% increase inflation. How do you tackle that? So I ran into debt the first year. Mind you, the mobile phone company did excellently well. We rolled out over 20,000 devices in our first year. So the major challenges we faced was the lack of support from the government and macroeconomics. Second challenge we faced was the issue of piracy. It's made in China. There's nothing called intellectual property, So we rolled out loads of devices that were successful, and in our 6th or 7th month, we saw duplicates of our mobile phones in the market. And, it got us having to think about tactical ways to embed our IMEI numbers so that if we picked up a phone that wasn't made by Dickson, we would know this is not a Dickson phone. And then we can provide warranty services or provide after service maintenance to those customers who bought the fake phones. So we've had those kind of challenges, And I also had a huge challenge starting off because we actually failed 2 times before we rolled out the sale that had the 20,000 sale in the first year. And one of our failure was because we had a manufacturer supply us low-end quality parts. And there's no way to test the quality part except when it's been used. Even if you had to do the resistance test and the battery test and whatsoever test you have to do, it has to be tested in a real-life use case. And then we rolled out about 1,200, 1,300 devices in our first use case. And then we collected data to ascertain. And then we had 80% of the mobile phones failing under 3 months. Because we had a contract. And in China, there's nothing called a contract. Paper doesn't matter. It's called guangxi, relationship you build. The Chinese popularly say, "Pengyodu la lu haozi." It means the more the friends, the wider the road. So more or less, contract has to be built by friendship, not by signing a paper. And those were the challenges I faced in trying to tackle a big challenge, which was providing internet access to uneducated people in Western Africa. So first of all, on the technology aspect of the startup I used to run, there's nothing called Wi-Fi in these areas in Africa. Wi-Fi really don't exist. We only have to use 2G and 3G, especially from the region I'm from. And then that pushes companies or startups like my company to have to partner with telcos. And there's a big telco we partnered with. We had lots of affiliation with, which is like Airtel Nigeria. Airtel Nigeria just had a partnership with internet.org to provide free Facebook accounts to almost everyone in the whole Western Africa. We also created a low-end mobile phone, which was a keypad phone. It didn't need to have, like the Wi-Fi and smartphone touch technology, because some people couldn't afford phones that cost $10. So you had to make phones that would cost less than $10 for them to be able to access mobile phones. And in those kind of situations, Dickson Mobile was actually one of the first companies in Western Africa to have core Java, to have Facebook translated or WhatsApp translated in core Java into keypad phones. So we had the first phones with the Naira sign on the keyboard and the first phones that could enable WhatsApp through keypad phones, less than $8 back then. And that brings us to the learning curve. There's a huge technology gap. lots of people are uneducated about this technology. Even though they want smartphones, many of them still have to learn to operate those smartphones. And that's why we are unique. When you give a child a tablet and come back after 2 months, the child has customized the tablet to suit his or her personal needs. And that was exactly the same with Africa, with our mobile phones, And then we had people customizing our devices to suit their personal needs. Some people used our device mostly for church programs, taking down notes. Most people used it strictly for the social media apps that we pre-downloaded into the phones, like Facebook, WhatsApp, and lots of other things they could do. And mind you, thousands of people in these regions don't know what internet is, and they think Facebook is internet. That is a big issue. So most of the times when you want your product to be very viral and effective in reaching this crowd, you have to go through Facebook or partner with Facebook, because what they know as internet is Facebook. And with the new advancement of internet.org coming into Western Africa and Eastern Africa, it will be a smart one to partner with internet.org in releasing any service to the unbanked. Taking to fact that internet.org is taking some particular African businesses as an enterprise to be free on the platform. Like we have, in Nigeria, we have a startup called Jobberman. Jobberman is now on internet.org. You could apply for jobs. You could search for jobs freely with your phone, without money on your phone, through internet.org and through the Facebook account. So that covers much about the technological challenges we faced in this region. Okay, so a very good friend of mine, Denis, he's Russian. We talked a lot about my adventure and my failures, and he told me, "Look, man, you have a badge of honor, 4 failed companies." At last, towards the middle of last year, I had invested about 3.5 years of my life in building a product and building a company that I wanted to reach the unbanked. And I couldn't stand it fail. I couldn't watch it fail. And it was so personal. I had to leave the country. I didn't want to stay. So I wasn't in Nigeria while the company closed up, because I put in my sweat and my blood in this company to provide a solution to our ailing problems. And then I called up a mentor of mine in the United Nations, and she pretty much understood what I was going through, because she used to be an entrepreneur before she got into be a director. And then I picked up a training program in the United Nations office, New York, where I was being trained to be a project manager. I had a wonderful boss, Mr. Walter. He trained me on series and series of models on project management, and I quickly caught up and understood how an international organization like the UN operates, and how effective they could be in executing projects. And I got trained in this aspect, but before then I had an in-depth look at blockchain. I had been creating products and services in a centralized manner, and when I looked at blockchain, I couldn't unlook anymore, because it seemed to be the solution to my personal problems in my solutions that I have been creating. And then I became a blockchain researcher and a consultant. I consulted for a couple of Wall Street companies, absolutely free, no charge, because I needed to build a CV. And I was presented with a good opportunity at the UN, which I turned down and went over to be on the streets of New York. And I wanted to get my own piece of the pie of the American dream. And I started consulting and researching, and little did I know it, I joined a couple of projects, couple of startups, couple of meetups, and now I'm in Humanic. everyone who got into blockchain from Bitcoin. And if you are an entrepreneur and you encounter Bitcoin, you have to also look at the financial benefits aspect of Bitcoin. So I got into Bitcoin a bit late for the early adopters, but a bit early for the late adopters. Sometime early last year when it was hovering around $500 per Bitcoin or thereabout. And then I got into Bitcoin, started investing a little bit, and then I watched it go from like 460 something to like $600, and realized that no hedge fund investment could make that much growth in that short time. And then I picked up books on trading. I started reading them. And on getting to New York is the best place to be in this world. Everything is happening in New York. You will meet every kind of person, people who are triple threats. They do this, they do that, and they do this, and they do all 98% of 100. So I got a couple of friends who were traders, and I got exposed to altcoins. And I got exposed to altcoin this month, and I caught the altcoin disease. Now, the altcoin disease is when you invest every single cash you have into every different kind of altcoin you think would be big. And a friend of mine was doing this, and I understood, like, you have to grow to a certain level in crypto that you don't believe in fiat anymore. And a month later, I got to that level. I had no fiat. Even up till today, I don't have fiat. So all my finances, all my life savings, everything is in crypto. And there's this particular bet I made. I was talking to a friend, Ryan, about it on a particular cryptocurrency. It's called PIVX, and it just pumped like crazy. And so trading for me comes natural as an entrepreneur. And I don't think I can stop trading. I have to trade. It's easy to know which cryptocurrency would be big or not. Just look at the board of directors, look at the white paper, and look at the roadmap. You can tell, even based on speculation, you could tell in 3 months. And our AI predicted that every cryptocurrency has had a minimum 700% growth in 8 months. Everyone. For the trading, it's all mine. Don't follow what I just said. I just said that personally, I'm risking my personal funds, and I don't advise you to do the same. So disclaimer is right there. Before I got into the Humanic project, I have presented 2 papers on Humanic. Before I even had a meeting with the CEO or the board, and that was late last year. I saw the project. I wasn't fast enough to join the pre-ICO, and when I got a hold of the white paper, it was as if you had the colors of the rainbow with one missing, and it was like that was the last piece, and I was like, wow, this is it, blockchain in a decentralized manner to serve the unbanked. And then I got into the project. I didn't care about the founder or who was doing the project. I just liked the project, and I started working on it in New York. I had a friend of mine join me, Solomon, and we researched on the project, presented papers on this project, had meetups on this project. I hadn't even joined the team then. We, having a background from the United Nations and knowing the core areas the United Nations was directed, especially the SDGs and the ID 2020 project, it was easy for me to maneuver, coupled with the fact that I have a genuine passion for the unbanked. I was just lucky not to be unbanked. So that brought me into the Humanic project, and eventually another friend of mine, who is a friend of one of the directors, got me in contact and was like, I saw this guy, he handled this project like he was the CEO. And then I got on the team, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't hard for me to pick up the project because it's personal. It's like my personal project. So I pretty much need no supervision to do what I have to do to make sure the project gets successful in whatever region it has to be successful. And currently at Humaniq, I head the institutions and enterprise development segment. But you know, as a startup, Humaniq is currently evolving, and roles change eventually. So probably if you might be seeing this video in the future, it might be a different role. A wise man once said, "Talent is evenly distributed, but opportunity is not." And looking at that statement closely makes you realize how important and how urgent the Humanic project is, not just to Africa. I was in China also, I was in India. There are tons and millions of unbanked people in this region, you know. But the reason why we have Africa at heart is because Africa is the new frontier. In the next 10 years or next 20 years, we might have one of the biggest populations in the world. I'm speaking of Nigeria. And so a project like Humanic shouldn't be treated as a for-profit business, but as a business with utmost urgency and a wake-up call to humanity to respond to the ailing cries and challenges of the African continent. You know, there's a project called the Andala Project. They've produced tons and tons of programmers out of Nigeria and Kenya, way better than many Silicon Valley programmers. That is an example of creating opportunity, because talent is evenly distributed. And with the Humanic project, I know the management team and myself are working tirelessly to create equal opportunity for every man. And even looking at the white paper of Humanic, it's an egalitarian system. We want everyone on the platform to have equal opportunity to work, equal opportunity to mint the coins, equal opportunity to earn tokens, equal opportunity to access and sell services. And only through this way can we have a rejuvenation of mankind with Africa at its forefront. So I urge everyone to join the Humanic project, not just for profit, but for the call to create opportunity for these people and my people.